You've seen it a million times, right? On the news, they show security footage of a crime, and it's just this blurry, pixelated mess. You can't even tell what's going on. And you have to wonder, in a world where your phone shoots in 4K, why is so much security footage so bad? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you the secrets the pros use to get that perfect shot every time.
So that really is the big question, isn't it? And the answer, you might be surprised to hear, isn't just about buying a fancier camera. Nope, the failure usually happens way before a single piece of equipment is even bought. It's a failure of strategy, not just technology. And in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how the pros get it right.
Okay, so let's dive right in. The absolute #1 most important reason for getting useless footage is not figuring out the camera's mission first. You have to ask one simple question before you do anything else. What is this camera's actual job?
And that job, it really only falls into one of three buckets. First, you've got surveillance. Is someone literally sitting there watching a screen in real time? Second is assessment. You know, an alarm goes off, is it a real threat or did the wind just blow a branch? And third, and this is the one we all think of, is forensics. That's for gathering recorded evidence to use after something has already happened. Each one of those goals demands a totally different approach. And hey, here's a quick little pro tip on the lingo. Everybody says CCTV, right? For closed circuit television. But in the industry, the term now is VSS, or video surveillance systems. Why the change? Well, because these systems are almost never closed anymore. They're all networked, they're on the internet, they're super integrated. It's a small detail, but it really shows you how much the tech has evolved. So, you've got your mission. How do you actually make sure you get a good shot? You can't just tell an installer, hey, I want a clear picture. What does that even mean? The secret is that the pros have actually turned the whole idea of clarity into a measurable science.
And that science is called the DORI Standard. This is like the universal language that professionals use to spec out a job. It gets rid of all the guesswork because it all comes down to a really simple measurement. How many pixels are you actually putting on your target?
Now this is where it gets really interesting. DORI breaks clarity down into 4 super simple levels. D is for detection. You can tell something is there, but that's about it. O is for observation. Now you can see some details, like a person wearing a red shirt. R is for recognition. This is where you could recognize someone you already know, like, hey, that's Dave from accounting. But the holy grail is I, for identification. That's a positive, court-admissible ID with crystal clear facial features. So what's the magic number you need to hit for that identification level? This is it, 76 pixels per foot. If you can't get at least 76 pixels vertically across a person's face, you're just not going to get a positive ID. It's that simple. All the guesswork is just gone. It's replaced by math. Okay, so now that we know our mission and the exact level of detail we need to achieve, we can finally start talking about the hardware. It's all about choosing the right tool for the job. And one of the first big choices is the lens. A fixed lens, well, it's fixed. It's set at the factory, and what you see is what you get. It's cheaper, sure, but you have no flexibility. A varifocal lens, on the other hand, lets an installer manually zoom and focus right there on site. That means they can frame the shot perfectly to get that exact pixel density, that DORI level that the mission calls for. This leads to a super common assumption. If an adjustable zoom is good, then one of those cameras that can pan, tilt, and zoom all over the place must be the ultimate solution, right? You can see everything. Well, that line of thinking leads directly into one of the biggest, most costly mistakes in this entire industry. It's called the PTZ Trap, and it's a classic. These pan-tilt-zoom cameras are fantastic for live monitoring, where you have a security guard with a joystick. But for unmanned recording, they're awful. Just think about it. You set it to watch the door on the left, but the bad guy comes in from the right. What do you get? A perfect, high-definition recording of an empty doorway. Your evidence is completely useless. All right, so we've covered the mission and the hardware, but some of the most critical parts of a truly great surveillance system are the invisible technologies humming away behind the scenes. We're talking about how it handles light, how it manages data, and yes, even how it deals with spiders. First up, light. You know how when you try to take a picture of someone in front of a bright window, they turn into a dark silhouette? Security cameras do the exact same thing. The solution is a technology called Wide Dynamic Range, or WDR. What it does is kind of magical. It basically takes 2 pictures at once. One is exposed for the dark inside, the other for the bright outside. Then it digitally smushes them together into one perfectly clear image. If your camera is facing a door or a window, WDR isn't a nice-to-have, it's a must-have.
Next, let's talk data. High-quality video creates gigantic files. To deal with that, cameras use things called codecs to compress everything. For a long time, the standard was H.264, but the new kid on the block is H.265, and it's about 50% more efficient. What does that mean for you? It means you can store twice as much video on the exact same hard drive. It's a total game changer for storage costs.
And when you're planning out your system, there are 4 big things that are going to determine how much storage you need. First, the resolution. Then, your frame rate. And for security, 10 to 15 frames per second is usually more than enough. Third is retention time. How many days of video do you need to keep? And finally, scene activity. This one's interesting. Because of how modern compression works, a camera watching a busy street will use way more data than a camera watching a quiet hallway overnight.
And finally, we need to talk about spiders. I am not kidding. This is a real-world pro tip you will not find in a user manual. To see in the dark, cameras have these little infrared illuminators. The problem? Bugs love the warmth and the light, and who loves bugs? Spiders! So they build their webs right in front of the lens. Then at night, the infrared light bounces off the web and completely blinds the camera. Your only evidence is a beautiful, glowing spider web.
So there you have it. From figuring out the mission, to measuring clarity with DORI, to avoiding the PTZ trap, and even outsmarting spiders, you now know the core secrets of professional video surveillance. The next time you see a camera on a street corner or in a store, you won't just see a piece of hardware. You'll see the strategy behind it. You'll know the right questions to ask. So, now that you know the secrets, will you ever look at a security camera the same way again?